guys, my name is Colin McLeod, and within this video I'd like to just share with you some simple facts that will hopefully give you an edge in this life. Now, within this video I'd like to talk a little bit with you about goals. Now, it's a funny thing because the human being is driven by goals. Almost anyone who has and believes in a goal will accomplish it every single time. Now, for hundreds of years, if not thousands, society has known this, and they've used it to their advantage in many ways. Now, I've traveled to many countries all over the world. I'm actually currently here in Japan, driving back to my house in Furukawa. Now, I've been to Canada, America, Philippines, Mexico, Cuba, Thailand, and Japan, China, tons, right? And I started to notice that every single government and every single society has 5 simple brainwashed goals that they force upon us when we're very young, and they concrete over the span of our lives. Now, goal number 1 would of course be to go to school. Now, our whole life we've always heard go to school, go to school, go to school. School has become a very important part of a child's life. Now, when you stop and just think about a few things and ask yourself, well, what did I really learn in school? Imagine that I meet a beautiful woman, which I've met many, and I get married with her, and we have a son or a daughter. And I become a very loving, caring father, spend a lot of time with my child, my wife alike. We come from a place of money, live in a nice neighborhood, and we send our child to a very nice school. They enter kindergarten. Now, of course, things like arithmetic, science, reading, writing are very important aspects of life, and very great skills that can lead to many places. But I want you to ask yourself, imagine that my young boy was extremely fat, or extremely short, or wore glasses, or was different in some way than the society proclaims as cool or good looking. Or maybe they can't play sports very well, or maybe they're slow learners. But what's the first few things that they learn in school? To learn mathematics or the ABCs takes time, but fear and shame can be learned instantly. Children, I've worked in kindergartens for years, teaching English, schools. Children are very, very mean creatures. So, when a child first enters school, they start to learn what is right and wrong in the eyes of society. To be fat, to be short, to be, a slow learner is a very negative thing, and children will be bullied or pushed around, even by teachers, not just students. But what happens is this causes them to be ashamed of themselves, and it also teaches them fear. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of the late great Zig Ziglar, but he's a great guy. You should check him out. Rest in peace, Zig. But he says, fear is false evidence appearing real. So one more time, false evidence appearing real. Now, there's a Will Smith movie where, Will Smith says, fear is not real. Now, this is completely true. Fear is basically your imagination of something that might possibly happen in the future. There's nothing set in stone. It's a might, it's a maybe. You see a snake. Maybe the snake will bite you. Maybe other students won't like you. And this is a very dangerous thing to introduce to children of a young age. It causes them to reduce the amount of action and interaction they will take with other people. Now, another thing that these young people learn in school is, of course, order. Now, if you look at schools, the schedule, right? So you go to school at 8 o'clock in the morning. When the bell rings, you sit down at your desk. Don't talk to your friends. Sit and do what the teacher says. 12 o'clock, you stop and eat lunch. 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever, you go home. Saturday, Sunday, your day off. This sounds very, very similar to that of a company, right? So school is also teaching our youth about order. Now, in some ways, of course, order is good, but in other ways, it also can be quite damaging to the potential future of a person. So we got those three things that are tattooed into the brains of our children by the time they're 5 or 6 years old. And that would be shame, fear, and order. Now, the more that we see, hear, or experience something, the more we start to believe in that activity, whether it be true or false data. Now, simple things that children hear on a daily basis actually will affect their entire lives and will affect them actually taking advantage of opportunities that are given to them. Because, you have to take advantage of an opportunity in the lifetime of that opportunity. Now, an example of this would be damaging phrases such as, be careful. If you start to count how many times a child is told to be careful throughout their early years, it's quite a lot. So in the morning when they go to school, their parents say, okay, have a good day, be careful. When they get to school, their teacher says, oh, be careful with that, be careful, be careful. Going home, be careful. Now, being careful actually causes people to not want to take risk. Now, there are two types of risks. There's bad risks and there's good risks. There's risks with heavy penalties and there's risks with low penalties and high rewards. Now, example of this is a boy his whole life has been told, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. Be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful, be careful. He also knows about the feelings of shame. So he's 16 years old, he's hit puberty, he sees a girl. He's kind of like, oh, wow, she's a cutie. And he really wants to talk to her, he wants to maybe ask her to go to the school dance or maybe kiss her or whatever. But due to the years of him hearing be careful, he's not willing to take the risk that maybe the girl will say no to him, maybe the girl will shame him in front of his friends. So he never takes a chance on the opportunity of being with that girl or that girl being with that boy. So another great example of this is, I hear it all the time still, it says, don't talk to strangers. Now, in this world, strangers have all of the money, strangers have all of the opportunities. Talking and interacting with strangers and selling yourself is by far, I would say, one of the most important skills needed to have a successful life. Now, a great example of this is from one of my personal heroes. His name's Grant Cardone. Definitely check him out. But he tells a story of an airplane ride with his daughter. And his daughter, I forgot how old, maybe 5 or 6, and she says, Daddy, I want some cookies. And he says, well, I don't have any cookies. She says, Daddy, I want some cookies. He says, well, go get some. So the little girl gets kind of that look in her eye, and she starts to approach the flight attendants. And she's asking the flight attendants, well, do you have some cookies? And the flight attendants say, no. And she kept going, and then she asked, well, can you check? And what happened was, I guess a few minutes later, Grant Cardone's daughter came back to the scene, and guess what she had? Cookies. So, being able to talk to strangers and ask for things is a very, very, very important skill in life. And it will always have very limited risks and many times high rewards. Now, the next brainwashed goal of society, number 2 here, guys and girls, would be go to school again. So you look at most societies, so in some places maybe go to work, but most societies, we want our children to also go to some kind of college or university or trade school. Imagine you're living in America and you and your wife, you got some money, and your daughter says to you, Dad, Mom, I'm going to open a bakery. I'm not going to go to university, I'm going to open a bakery. We'd most likely tell her, shut up and go to university. Now, one of the most dangerous and one of the most powerful things in our life to create or destroy our future is that of habits and routines. So a habit is something that we've done so many times, over and over and over, that it just becomes natural. An example's right there, cigarettes. I've smoked cigarettes for over 20 years, not quitting. Probably should, but I'm not gonna. So the creation of habits, everything that we see, everything that we hear, everything that we experience starts to create sets of beliefs. Whether it's true or whether it's false data, it doesn't matter. The more times you do something, the stronger the habit, the skill, the routine will become and tattooed in your brain. So the government, of course, knows this, and a sad truth, boys and girls, is the government and society of every country does not want you to be successful. Imagine if everyone was successful. There'd be no one to pump our gas, cook our cheeseburgers, teach our children. Society would actually crumble. So the second brainwash goal is not only used to reinforce the habits and routines and beliefs that were taught to us during our elementary school and high school years, but it's also used to give us a skill that we can then give to a company. So we go to school for another 5 years, and all of these habits and all of these beliefs are, thank God it's Friday, I hate Mondays, hump day Wednesday, all of these things that massively limit success in one's life are so strongly tattooed into our brain that we believe it's true. It's not. There's no difference between Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday or Saturday. It's all the same. And the more actions that you take towards your own goals, the more success you'll have in this life. So, goal number 3 is, of course, what do you think? Get a job. So, when we get a job, what happens? We're selling our time and our skills for money. Someone is using that time and those skills to make more money. So they're kind of middlemanning us. So getting a job, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but getting a job is not a very, very good idea for a lot of people, But we've learned to be careful and always, take the safe road and, okay, I'm going to get a job. Now, what happens when you get a job? It reinforces everything that you've learned from the first 2 brainwashed goals. Fear. We start to fear our boss, losing our job. Order. Going to work on time every day. staying late, eating lunch, taking their breaks, all of these things. Fear, again, we fear maybe we'll lose our job, maybe we'll, get laid off, maybe whatever. All of these false evidence appearing real over and over again. Now, by this time, maybe we're 25, 30 years old, and the next goal is get married and have children. Now, I have 3 children, and I've been married and divorced, unfortunately. But, having children is amazing. Being married to a wonderful man or woman is amazing. But it's also hellish. Being married and having children, you're responsible for those people for the rest of your life, and they're responsible for you. You're limited to the actions that you can take in many ways. You can't just pick up and move around as much. You can't, you're not as limber. You're, stuck. And if you look on the other hand, the grass is always greener on the other side. Yeah, single people, maybe they're lonely, maybe they're, they don't have companionship, but they've also got full control of all their money, full control of most of their time. They can do whatever they want. They don't have to take care of another person. So if we meet a man or woman who's 40 years old and they're single, in many cultures that's strange or looked upon weirdly. Now, basically, just remember this. If you're single or if you're married, both roads will lead to a wonderful and painful life. Now, the final goal, brainwashed goal of society, is to build a house. Build a house, buy a house, acquire a house, do something to get a house. Now, how much does a house cost where you are? So, I'm here in Japan right now, and Japan's actually, believe it or not, super cheap compared to where I'm from, which is Vancouver, Canada. You can buy a beautiful house on a nice piece of land here for under $500,000 easily. You can buy a little house probably around $200,000. Okay? Now, do you have $500,000? If so, congratulations. But most of us don't, so what do? Of course, we go to the bank. We get ourselves a 25, 30, 35-year loan. Now, once we've got a loan, all of a sudden, every single month, no matter what happens, we got to come up with a certain amount of money to pay our mortgage, a certain amount of money to pay our taxes, and this increases our fear of losing our job. It increases our fear of money, and it causes us to be stuck. Now, usually, a man or woman, by the time they're, 35 to 45 years old, they've accomplished all 5 of these goals. They went to school again. They got a job, they got married, they had kids, they built a house. Now, what happens next? There's no more goals. When a person runs out of goals and runs out of purpose and is just doing the 9-to-5 rat race, they start to change. They start to not like what they're doing anymore. Maybe they turn to things like alcohol or drugs or gambling or watching TV or all of these habits that just won't help you in the long run. And as soon as we're goalless, we also start to complain a lot more. Now, tomorrow when you go to work or when you go to school, I want you to start to just stop and listen. And you'll hear that most of what people say are complaints. Things like, I'm too busy. I work too much. I'm not making enough money. And, you know, people who complain are basically, I feel, spreading a sickness. And other people complain. And it's just over and over and over again. Now, what I'd like you to do for homework is I'd like you to just get a piece of paper, and I'd like you to just think about what your goals are. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. It could be short term or long term. And in our next video, I'll teach you exactly how to obtain those goals. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my rant as I drive home. I truly hope that this video has helped you in some way or another, and you know, just get a goal and start to obtain the things that you want in your life, because you know what? I know you can. Once again, my name is Colin McLeod. Please make sure to share this video with your friends, you know, share the love, and I'll see you in the next video.